The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the UES Horizon's Promise. Captain Day-Wan stood with his hands behind his back, watching the distant lights through the viewport. His ship moved slowly through space near New Busan, one of humanity's 17 colony worlds. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed safe. "Captain, we're receiving a strange signal," said the communications officer. Her voice carried a note of concern that made Day-Wan turn around. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The main display flickered. Then it showed something that made everyone on the bridge freeze. Ships, hundreds of them, massive vessels that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. They appeared from nowhere, emerging from the darkness between stars like ghosts made of metal and fire. Dr. Hana rushed onto the bridge, her tablet clutched in her hands. She was the ship's chief xenobiologist, an expert on alien species. "Captain, those ship designs don't match anything in our database. Not the Council species, not any known civilization." The communications officer spoke again, her voice shaking. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all channels." A face appeared on the screen. It was not human. The creature had gray skin stretched tight over a skull-like face. Its eyes were black and cold. When it spoke, the translator turned its words into something humans could understand. "I am Commander Vexthar of the Vrax Dominion. All worlds in this sector now belong to us. You will surrender immediately. Resistance means death. You have 1 hour to comply." The transmission ended. Day-Wan felt his blood run cold. He pulled up the navigation display. The alien fleet was moving toward New Busan. His ship was too far away. Even at maximum speed, they would need 3 hours to reach the colony. "Get me Ambassador Taemin at Council headquarters," Day-Wan said. "Now." Down on New Busan, in the small farming settlement called Hope's Landing, 7-year-old Jiho was playing in his family's garden. The twin sons made the plants grow tall and green. His mother, Yoon Seo, watched him from the porch while she cleaned vegetables for dinner. "Mom, look," Jiho called out. He held up a bright blue flower he had found. "Can I keep it?" "Of course, sweetheart," Yoon Seo smiled. "Put it in water and it will last longer." She had no idea that above them, in the darkness of space, death was coming. At the Galactic Council headquarters, Ambassador Taemin received the emergency transmission from Captain Day-Wan. He listened with growing horror as Day-Wan explained what was happening. "The Vrax Dominion?" Taemin repeated. "I've never heard of them." He called an emergency meeting of the council. Representatives from 6 alien species gathered in the grand chamber. When Taemin showed them the recording of Vexthar's message, several of them gasped. One elderly alien, a member of the council for over 50 years, went pale. "The Vrax," the old alien whispered. "They exist. We thought they were just legends. Stories to frighten children." "Tell me everything," Taemin demanded. The old alien looked around the chamber. "The Vrax Dominion is ancient. They have conquered for 3,000 years. 47 civilizations have fallen before them. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. Every species that resisted them was destroyed completely. Then we must evacuate New Busan immediately," Taemin said. But the council members shook their heads sadly. "There is not enough time," one of them said. "The Dominion moves fast. If they are already at your colony, it is too late." "Then we fight them," Taemin said. "You cannot win," the old alien replied. "No one has ever defeated the Dominion. Ambassador, I am sorry, but your best option is to surrender. Perhaps they will show mercy if you do not resist." Taemin stared at them in disbelief. These were supposed to be Earth's allies. These were the species humanity had trusted, had traded with, had built friendships with, and now they were telling him to give up without a fight. On New Busan, the colony's defense commander saw the Dominion fleet approaching. She had 12 patrol ships and a few defensive platforms. Against hundreds of enemy vessels, they were nothing, but she activated the defenses anyway. "All civilians to the shelters," she broadcast across the colony. "This is not a drill. We are under attack." In Hope's Landing, alarms began to wail. Yoon Seo grabbed Jiho's hand. "Come on, sweetheart. We need to go to the shelter now." "But what about the flower?" Jiho asked, still holding the blue bloom. "Bring it with you," his mother said, pulling him toward the underground bunker where families were gathering. The Dominion ships opened fire. The colony's defenses lasted exactly 4 minutes. The patrol ships exploded one by one. The defensive platforms were torn apart by weapons that turned metal into vapor. Then the Dominion ships descended toward the planet's surface. Commander Vexthar watched from his command ship. He had given the humans an hour to surrender, but he had no intention of accepting any surrender. The Dominion needed to send a message. They needed the other council species to see what happened when you stood against them. Target the civilian settlements first, he ordered. I want broadcasts. Show the galaxy what resistance costs. His officers obeyed without question. The Dominion soldiers landed in Hope's Landing. They moved through the streets with cold efficiency. They pulled people from the shelters. They lined them up in the town square. And they made sure every moment was recorded and transmitted across all council communication channels. Captain Dewan watched from his ship, still 2 hours away. He watched as the Dominion soldiers forced colonists to their knees. He watched as they separated the children from their parents. He watched as Jiho clutched his blue flower, tears running down his face. Dr. Hana stood beside him, her hand covering her mouth. Captain, we have to do something. We're too far, Dewan said. His voice was hollow. We can't reach them in time. On the planet, Commander Vexthar's voice echoed across the square.
Let this be a lesson to all who oppose the Dominion.
Weakness has a price. What happened next was broadcast to every council world, to Earth, to every human colony. 38 children died in Hope's Landing that day. Jiho was the first. His blue flower fell from his hand and lay in the dust. When Captain Dewan finally reached New Busan 3 hours later, the Dominion fleet was gone. They had left only ashes and bodies. The colony was destroyed. Hope's Landing was a graveyard. Dewan walked through the ruins with Dr. Hana. They found Jiho's flower dried and broken, lying where it had fallen. Dr. Hana picked it up with shaking hands. Why? She whispered. Why did they do this? To send a message, Dewan said quietly. To show us that we cannot resist them. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Dominion thought they had won. They thought humanity would surrender now. They thought fear would make humans kneel. They were wrong. Ambassador Taemin stood before the Galactic Council again. The alien representatives offered their sympathies. They said they were sorry for humanity's loss. They urged Earth to accept Dominion rule peacefully. Taemin listened to them in silence. Then he spoke 3 words that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity declines respectfully. On Earth, 3 billion people watched Jiho's final moments on the broadcasts. They watched the other children die. They watched the Dominion's cruelty. And something changed in humanity that day. Something ancient and terrible woke up. President Kyung-ho addressed the planet. We came to the stars in peace. We built homes in the darkness. We extended our hands to strangers who became friends. And our children paid the price for our trust. The Dominion thinks we will surrender. They think we will kneel. They are wrong. The United Earth Parliament voted. The decision was unanimous. For the first time in 200 years, humanity activated Total War Protocol. In hidden asteroid bases, in secret shipyards scattered across dead systems, lights began to turn on. Ships that the Council had never seen started to wake up. Weapons that were forbidden by galactic law were unsealed. Humanity had hoped never to use them. But hope died with 38 children on New Busan. Admiral Su-jin stood in one of those hidden bases. Around her, 400 warships of the Ghost Fleet were being prepared for launch. They were ships the Council did not know existed. Ships humanity had built in secret just in case peace failed. How long until we're ready? She asked her second-in-command. 48 hours, Admiral. Su-jin looked at the tactical display showing the Dominion's fleet positions. She thought about Jiho. She thought about all the children who had died. She thought about the Dominion's commander, who had ordered their deaths without a moment's hesitation. Make it 24 hours, she said coldly. We have a war to start. The galaxy was about to learn something the Dominion had forgotten in their 3,000 years of conquest. Humanity remembered Earth's history. They remembered their own wars, their own darkness, their own capacity for violence. They had come to the stars hoping to leave that behind. But when you touch humanity's children, you remind them what they are capable of. And the Dominion had just made the worst mistake in their long history. Earth held a funeral for the children of New Busan. 3 billion people stopped what they were doing and watched in silence. The ceremony took place in the capital city, under a gray sky that matched the mood of an entire planet. 38 empty coffins stood in a line. Behind each one, a hologram showed the child who had died. Jiho's image smiled forever, frozen in time. His parents, Yoon Seo and her husband, stood before the crowd. They did not cry. They were past tears now. Yoon Seo spoke into the microphone. Her voice was steady but cold. Remember his smile? Remember what was taken from us. Remember who took it from us, that was all she said. But those words would be repeated across human space for generations to come. President Kyung-ho stood at the podium after the families had spoken. He looked out at the massive crowd. The Galactic Council told us to surrender. They said the Dominion has never been defeated. They said we should accept our fate peacefully. He paused, letting the words sink in. We came to the stars with open hearts. We built homes on distant worlds. We made friends with alien species. We believed the galaxy was a place where reason and peace could win. We were wrong. The crowd was completely silent. The Dominion thinks we are weak because we chose peace. They think we will kneel because we are young among the stars. They killed our children to teach us fear. But they taught us something else instead. They taught us that peace only works when both sides want it. They taught us that some enemies only understand one language. Kyung-ho's voice grew harder. Today we speak that language. Today humanity goes to war. The United Earth Parliament met in emergency session. Every representative voted the same way. Total War Protocol was now active. This meant everything changed. The economy shifted to military production. Every resource, every factory, every shipyard now served one purpose: winning the war. But the Council species did not understand what this meant. They looked at humanity's known military and felt sad. 17 patrol fleets, standard defensive stations, a few research vessels. Against the Dominion's might, it seemed hopeless. What the Council did not know was that humanity had been preparing for this since first contact with aliens. Not because they wanted war, because they remembered their own history, because they knew that in a universe full of strangers you could not trust everyone to be friendly. Admiral Soo-jin stood in the command center of a hidden military base carved into an asteroid. Around her, holographic displays showed the Ghost Fleet coming online. 400 warships built in secret over 20 years. The Council had no idea they existed. General Won-ho entered the command center. He led Special Operations Command, the branch of military that did not officially exist. Admiral, the teams are ready for deployment. Good, Soo-jin replied. She pulled up a tactical map. We know where the Dominion's Second Fleet is located. They're moving toward our colonies in the Outer Rim. We need to stop them before they reach civilian populations. Won-ho studied the map. The Council will tell us not to engage. They'll say we should negotiate. The Council can say whatever they want, Soo-jin said coldly. Our children are dead. We're done listening to their advice. At Council headquarters, Ambassador Taemin faced the assembled representatives again. They were begging him to reconsider. The elderly alien who knew about the Dominion spoke first. Ambassador, please. Your species is young. You have so much potential. Do not throw it away in a war you cannot win. The Dominion has destroyed 47 civilizations. 47! What makes you think humanity will be different? Taemin looked around the chamber. These aliens meant well. They were genuinely concerned. But they did not understand. You ask us to kneel, Taemin said quietly. You ask us to forget what was done. You ask us to let the killers of our children claim dominion over us. He paused. We respectfully decline, and we ask that all Council vessels evacuate Dominion space immediately. What comes next is not your war. What comes next is ours. The Council representatives looked at each other nervously. They had never seen humans like this before. Always humanity had been reasonable, diplomatic, friendly. Now they saw something else. Something cold and angry and absolutely determined. One representative asked the question they were all thinking. What are you planning to do? Taemin did not answer. He simply left the chamber. Back on Earth, Dr. Bora walked through the Prometheus Project facility. This place was buried deep underground, hidden from satellites and from the Council's inspectors. Here, humanity developed weapons that were forbidden by galactic law. The first section held artificial intelligence systems. The Council feared AI and had banned any research into truly intelligent machines. Humanity had ignored that ban. The AI here could calculate trajectories, predict enemy movements, and coordinate entire fleets faster than any biological mind. The second section held quantum disruptors. These weapons tore apart the bonds between atoms. A ship hit by a quantum disruptor did not explode. It simply came apart, molecule by molecule, until nothing remained but scattered particles. The third section held things even darker. But Dr. Bora did not go there yet. Those weapons were for later. Maybe they would not be needed at all. She hoped they would not be needed. President Kyung-ho came to inspect the facility. He walked beside Dr. Bora, looking at the weapons humanity had created in secret. "Can we win with these?" he asked. "Yes," Dr. Bora replied. "But victory has a price. If we use everything in this facility, we become something different, something harder, maybe something darker." "The Dominion made that choice for us when they killed our children," Kyung-ho said. Commander Vexthar of the Dominion received reports about humanity's military mobilization. His intelligence officers showed him data about the Ghost Fleet emerging from hiding. 400 ships appearing from nowhere. He laughed. 400 ships? That is supposed to frighten me? He looked at his officers. The Dominion's Second Fleet has 147 warships. More than enough to crush this Ghost Fleet. These humans are children playing at war. His second-in-command was not so confident. "Commander, their ship designs are unknown. We have no data on their weapons or capabilities." "Because they have no real weapons," Vexthar said dismissively. "They are a young species. They probably built larger versions of their patrol ships and think that makes them powerful. Send the Second Fleet to their colonies. Destroy everything. Show them what real power looks like." The Dominion Second Fleet began moving through space. 147 massive warships, veterans of countless conquests. They headed toward human colonies in the Outer Rim, confident and unworried. They flew toward the Crimson Nebula, a region of space filled with colorful gas clouds. It was beautiful. The red and orange clouds glowed like fire. They did not know that Ghost Fleet was waiting inside those clouds. Admiral Sujin stood on the bridge of the UES Requiem, the flagship of the Ghost Fleet. Around her ship, 400 human vessels waited in silence. They were hidden by the nebula's gases, invisible to Dominion sensors. "Admiral, the Dominion fleet is entering the nebula," her tactical officer reported. Sujin thought about Jiho. She thought about his smile in the hologram. She thought about Yunseo's words at the funeral. "Remember his smile. Remember what was taken. Remember who took it, all ships," Sujin said quietly. "Weapons free. Show them what humanity can do." The Ghost Fleet activated. Suddenly, the Dominion sensors screamed warnings. 400 contacts appeared from nowhere, surrounding them on all sides. On the Dominion flagship, the commander shouted orders. "Battle stations. Return fire!" But the human ships moved like nothing the Dominion had ever seen. They were fast, incredibly fast, darting through the nebula clouds like sharks through water. The AI systems calculated trajectories that would have taken biological minds minutes to work out. Human ships knew where Dominion vessels would be before they got there. The quantum disruptors fired. A Dominion warship flickered once, twice. Then it simply came apart. Its hull separated into individual molecules that drifted away into space. One moment it was there. The next moment it was dust. Another Dominion ship exploded as human missiles struck its reactor. Another lost its engines and tumbled helplessly. Another and another and another. The Dominion Second Fleet tried to fight back. They had centuries of combat experience. They had conquered dozens of species. But they had never fought anyone like humanity. They had never faced an enemy that had studied every battle record in Council archives, learning from the mistakes of 47 destroyed civilizations. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, 147 Dominion ships were destroyed. The Second Fleet no longer existed. 3 human ships were lost. Their names would be remembered. Their crews would be honored. But against the Dominion's total destruction, it was an overwhelming victory. The recordings of the battle spread across the galaxy. The Council species watched in shock. The Dominion had been defeated. For the first time in 3,000 years, someone had beaten them in open combat. Ambassador Tae-min stood before the Council again. They stared at him with new eyes that held respect and fear. "You asked what humanity was planning to do." Tae-min said calmly, "Now you know. We told you to leave Dominion space. We told you this was not your war. We hope you listened." In the Dominion capital, High Commander Treshikor stood on the bridge of his personal warship, the Devastator. Around him, 300 vessels of the Dominion First Fleet moved through space in perfect formation. This was the most powerful military force the Dominion had ever assembled under one commander. These humans destroyed our second fleet through trickery, Treshkor told his officers. They hid in a nebula and ambushed ships that were not prepared. But we are prepared now. We know what to expect, and we will show them the price of resistance. His tactical officer brought up a display. Commander, our intelligence shows human colonies in 12 systems. We could strike them all simultaneously. No, Treshkor said. His black eyes gleamed with cold calculation. We will destroy them one by one. Slowly. We will broadcast every moment. Let humanity watch as we take everything from them. Let them suffer as they made us suffer. The first fleet set course for the human colony on New Pyongyang, population 400,000. The Dominion would make an example of them. But Dominion intelligence was wrong about one thing. They thought humanity only had the Ghost Fleet. They did not know about the monitoring stations hidden throughout space. They did not know that humanity was tracking every Dominion ship, every movement, every communication. In Earth's military command center, Admiral Su-jin watched the Dominion First Fleet's trajectory. General Wonho stood beside her. They are heading for New Pyongyang, Wonho said. We need to evacuate the colony immediately. Can we intercept them before they arrive? Su-jin asked. No, they will reach the colony in 36 hours. Our nearest fleet would need 40 hours minimum. Su-jin slammed her fist on the console. They had won at Crimson Nebula, but they could not be everywhere at once. The Dominion knew this. They were going to attack colonies that Ghost Fleet could not defend in time. Send every available ship to New Pyongyang, she ordered, and get Captain Daewon on the line. His ship is the closest one to that colony. Captain Daewon received the orders while his ship was resupplying at a military station. His crew had been resting after the battle at Crimson Nebula. Now they were being sent back into danger. How long do we have? He asked. 36 hours before the Dominion arrives, the communications officer replied. Admiral Su-jin says to evacuate as many colonists as possible. Daewon looked at his crew. They were tired. They had fought hard. But when he saw their faces, he saw the same determination he felt. Dr. Hana spoke up. Captain, we have to try. We could not save Hope's Landing, but we can save New Pyongyang. Set course immediately, Daewon ordered. Maximum speed. And send a message to the colony. Tell them to prepare for full evacuation. The Horizon's Promise and 5 other ships raced toward New Pyongyang. They pushed their engines to the limit, knowing that every minute counted. On New Pyongyang, the colonial governor received the warning. She immediately activated emergency protocols. Alarms blared across every settlement. People grabbed what they could carry and rushed to evacuation points. But 40,000 people lived in the capital city alone. The transport ships could not carry everyone. Not in 36 hours. The governor made a decision that would haunt her forever. Priority evacuation for children and their parents. Everyone else. We will get as many out as we can. When Captain Daewon arrived at New Pyongyang, he found organized chaos. Transport ships were loading people as fast as possible. But it was not fast enough. An old man approached Daewon as he coordinated the evacuation. Captain, there are 3,000 of us who have volunteered to stay behind. Stay behind? Daewon asked. We are mostly elderly, or people who have lost families, or those who choose to fight, the old man said. We have lived our lives. But the children, they deserve to live theirs. We will stay. We will slow the Dominion down, give you more time to escape, Daewon wanted to argue. He wanted to order them onto the ships, but he saw the determination in the old man's eyes. This was their choice. Make every shot count, Daewon said quietly. The evacuation fleet lifted off from New Pyongyang carrying 40,000 colonists. 3,000 remained behind. They took up weapons and prepared defensive positions. They turned the colony into a trap, rigging buildings with explosives, setting up ambush points, creating a maze of death. When the Dominion First Fleet arrived, they expected to find frightened civilians. Instead, they found guerrilla fighters who knew every street, every building, every shadow. The Dominion sent down landing parties. 2,000 soldiers in heavy armor expecting an easy victory. They walked into hell. The colonial militia fought like demons. An elderly woman detonated explosives that took out an entire Dominion squad. A former farmer used mining charges to collapse a building on enemy troops. A teacher who had lost her daughter on New Busan held a choke point for 30 minutes before she fell. The Dominion lost 2,000 soldiers in 12 hours of urban combat. They finally called for orbital bombardment. High Commander Treshkor watched from orbit as his ships turned the colony to fire and ash. The 3,000 defenders died, but they had bought time. They had let 40,000 escape, and they had sent a message to the Dominion. Humans do not surrender easily, but Treshkor's rage only grew. Find the evacuation fleet. Destroy it. Captain Dewan's convoy was fleeing at maximum speed when Dominion pursuit ships caught up to them. 5 enemy vessels against his 6 transport escorts. Protect the transports, Dewan ordered his small fleet. No matter the cost. The battle was desperate and brutal. Human ships positioned themselves between the Dominion and the helpless transports. They traded their lives to buy minutes of escape time. One by one, the escort ships fell, until only the Horizon's Promise remained. Dr. Hana looked at Captain Dewan. "We cannot win this." "We do not have to win," Dewan replied. "We just have to slow them down until Admiral Sujin's fleet arrives." He ordered all power to weapons and shields. The Horizon's Promise turned to face the 5 Dominion ships alone. The fight lasted 20 minutes. Dewan's ship was torn apart piece by piece, but he never stopped firing, never stopped buying time. When Admiral Sujin's fleet finally arrived, they found the wreckage of the Horizon's Promise floating in space. All hands lost, but the transport ships had escaped. 40,000 lives saved because 6 ships gave everything. Sujin's fleet engaged the Dominion pursuers. The AI systems calculated perfect firing solutions. Quantum disruptors tore through Dominion shields. In minutes, all 5 enemy ships were destroyed, but Sujin felt no satisfaction. Only rage. Captain Dewan had been a good officer and a good friend. Now he was gone, like so many others. "Admiral, the Dominion First Fleet is withdrawing," her tactical officer reported. "Do not let them escape," Sujin ordered coldly. "Pursuit course. We end this now." The Ghost Fleet chased the First Fleet through 3 star systems. High Commander Treshkor tried every tactical maneuver he knew. He was a brilliant commander with 4 centuries of experience. But the human AI predicted his moves before he made them. At the Battle of the Void's Edge, the 2 fleets finally clashed in full force. 300 Dominion warships against 400 human vessels. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. General Wanho's special operations teams had infiltrated several Dominion ships during the chase. When the battle began, they sabotaged critical systems from within. Enemy vessels found their weapons offline at crucial moments. Their shields failed unexpectedly. The Dominion fought bravely. They were experienced warriors who had conquered for millennia. But humanity fought with cold, calculated fury. Every tactic was designed for maximum efficiency. Every weapon strike was precisely targeted. The AI systems gave humans an advantage the Dominion could not match. Treshkor realized too late that he was losing. He tried to retreat to save what remained of his fleet. Admiral Sujin would not allow it. "You came to our worlds," she broadcast to his ship. "You killed our children. You thought we would kneel. Now you try to run? No, you stay. You face what you created." The Ghost Fleet surrounded the Dominion vessels. They cut off every escape route. Captain Dewan's sacrifice had not been forgotten. The remains of his crew, the recordings from his final battle, had spread through the human fleet. Every officer, every pilot, every gunner knew his story. When the order came to attack, they fought with everything they had. A squadron of human fighters made a suicide run at Treshkor's flagship. Most were destroyed, but they created an opening. Human missiles struck the Devastator's reactor core. High Commander Treshkor, the conqueror who had destroyed dozens of civilizations, died as his ship exploded in a ball of fire. The remaining Dominion ships, leaderless and broken, scattered in panic. Of 300 vessels, only 43 escaped. The Battle of the Void's Edge was over. Humanity had won, but the cost was terrible. 127 human ships were destroyed. 45,000 people dead. The Ghost Fleet was exhausted, damaged, running on emergency power. Admiral Sujin stood on the bridge of the Requiem looking at the tactical display. They had won 2 major battles. They had destroyed the Dominion's best fleets. But Sujin knew this was not the end. Dr. Hana arrived on the bridge. She had been analyzing Dominion communications captured during the battle. Her face was pale. "Admiral, you need to see this." She showed Sujin the intelligence data. The 72-hour deadline began counting down. Across human space, people watched the clock and waited. In the Dominion capital, Panic spread through the government. The Dominion War Council met in emergency session. 12 military commanders sat around a table, trying to process what had happened. Their second fleet was gone. Their first fleet was destroyed. High Commander Treshikor was dead. And now humanity threatened to exterminate their entire species. This is a bluff, one commander insisted. No species would commit such an act. It would violate every law of the Galactic Council. Another commander threw a data tablet on the table. The humans do not care about council laws. They built weapons the council banned. They developed AI systems that are forbidden. They have been preparing for this war while pretending to be peaceful merchants. A third commander, a female named Venshara, spoke quietly. My daughter died at Crimson Nebula. She commanded a cruiser in the Second Fleet. When I received the news, I felt something I had not felt in years. Loss. Real loss. The others looked at her uncomfortably. The Dominion did not speak of such feelings. Weakness was shameful. I tell you this, Venshara continued, because it made me understand what we did to them. We killed their children on New Busan. We thought it would make them afraid. Instead, we taught them to hate us. And now they have the power to act on that hate. So what do you suggest? The senior commander asked. I suggest we believe their threat, Venshara said, and we surrender. Half the War Council shouted in outrage. The Dominion did not surrender. They had never surrendered in 3,000 years. But Venshara's words had planted a seed of doubt. On Earth, President Kyung-ho could not sleep. He stood in his office late at night, looking at a hologram of Jiho. The boy's face smiled at him, frozen forever in that moment of innocence before the Dominion came. Dr. Bora entered the office. She carried a data pad with updates on Operation Gehenna. The plague ships are ready, she said. We can launch in 12 hours. The biological weapon will reach Vrax Prime in 5 days. Once released in their atmosphere, there is no cure. No defense. 14 billion dead within a week. Kyung-ho turned away from the hologram. Tell me honestly, if we do this, what do we become? Dr. Bora sat down heavily. We become the monsters that every species fears. We become the example parents use to frighten their children. We become the story about why you should never make humans angry. But we survive, Kyung-ho said. Yes, we survive. Is that enough? Before Kyung-ho could answer, his communications officer rushed in. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Dominion Space. It is not from the War Council. It is from someone called Commander Venshara. She says she is leading a military coup. Kyung-ho and Dr. Bora exchanged glances. A coup? Now? Put her through, Kyung-ho ordered. The holographic display activated. A Vrax female appeared. Her gray skin showed scars from many battles. Her black eyes looked tired but determined. President Kyung-ho of Earth, Venshara said. I am Commander Venshara. As of 3 hours ago, I have taken control of the Dominion Grand Armada. The War Council is under arrest. I am now the acting Supreme Commander of the Vrax Dominion. Kyung-ho kept his expression neutral. Why should I believe you? Because I do not want my species to die, Venshara replied simply. The War Council wanted to fight to the last ship. They would rather see our entire civilization burn than admit defeat. But I have lost a daughter to this war. I know what loss feels like now. And I will not let 14 billion of my people die because of pride. The Dominion has killed for 3,000 years. Kyung-ho said coldly. You have destroyed 47 civilizations. You murdered children on New Busan. Why should humanity show you mercy now? Venshara did not look away. You should not. By any measure of justice, we deserve extinction. We have been monsters for millennia. We justified our actions by saying the weak deserve to be conquered. We felt no guilt because we believed we were superior. She paused. Then you made us feel pain, real pain. The kind we had inflicted on others for so long. My daughter died at Crimson Nebula. She was 200 years old, still young by our standards. When I received the news, I realized something. For the first time, I understood what we had done to others. The parents on New Busan felt what I felt. But we gave them no choice, no mercy, no chance. That is why I arrested the War Council, Venshara continued. That is why I am here. The Grand Armada is not coming to fight. We are coming to negotiate, or to accept whatever judgment you decide. Kyung-ho looked at Dr. Bora. She nodded slightly. The transmission seemed genuine. You will come to neutral space, Kyung-ho said. Council Station 7, we will meet in person. If this is a trick, I promise you that Operation Gehenna will launch immediately. Understood, Venshara replied. We will be there in 48 hours. The transmission ended. Admiral Sujin did not trust the Dominion's sudden change. She positioned the remaining Ghost Fleet ships around Council Station 7. If Venshara tried anything, humanity would be ready. 2 days later, the Grand Armada arrived. 1,000 Dominion warships entered the neutral zone. They did not take aggressive positions. They simply stopped and waited. A single shuttle left the flagship. It carried Venshara and 3 other Dominion commanders who supported her coup. The meeting took place in a secured chamber on the council station. President Kyung-ho led the human delegation. Admiral Sujin stood beside him, her arm still in a medical brace from her injuries. Ambassador Taemin and Dr. Hana completed the human team. Venshara entered with her officers. She looked at each human carefully. Then she did something no one expected. She knelt. I am Venshara, former commander of the Dominion 4th Fleet, now acting Supreme Commander of the Vrax Dominion. I come to offer our surrender. The room was silent. The Galactic Council representatives who were observing the meeting gasped. The Dominion never surrendered. Never. Kyung-ho gestured for her to stand. Tell me why we should accept your surrender instead of launching Operation Gehenna. Venshara stood but kept her eyes lowered respectfully. Because you are not like us. We studied your history during the war. We learned about Earth's past. You know what war truly costs. You know what it means to become monsters. Your species nearly destroyed itself multiple times before reaching the stars. She looked up at Kyung-ho. You built weapons that could exterminate us. But you hesitated. You offered us a chance to surrender. The old Dominion would never have done that. We would have destroyed you completely without mercy, without a second thought. But you are different. You understand that victory without honor is just more violence. Admiral Sujin stepped forward. Your forces killed Captain Daewon. He was a good officer and a better person. He died protecting 40,000 civilians from your ships. How many others like him have died because of Dominion aggression? Too many, Venshara admitted. On both sides. My daughter was one of them. She followed orders. She believed what we taught her. That the Dominion was righteous. That conquest was justified. She was wrong. We were all wrong. And she died because of that lie. She pulled up a holographic display. This is a proposal from the new Dominion Council. If you accept our surrender, we agree to these terms. The terms appeared on the screen. President Kyung-ho read them carefully. Complete withdrawal from all conquered territories in the past 50 years. Full reparations to all species harmed by Dominion actions. War crimes trials for all officers involved in atrocities, including commanders who ordered the attack on New Busan. Reduction of Dominion military by 75%. The Dominion joins the Galactic Council under human supervision. Permanent human observers in all Dominion government and military facilities. These terms will end the Dominion as we knew it, Venshara said. We will no longer be conquerors. We will no longer be feared. We will become just another species trying to survive in the galaxy. But we will survive. That is more than we deserve. Kyung-ho looked at his team. Ambassador Taemin nodded slowly. These were harsh terms, but fair. Dr. Hana seemed relieved. Admiral Sujin's expression was harder to read. Admiral? Kyung-ho asked. Your opinion? Sujin looked at Venshara for a long moment. I lost friends in this war. I sent thousands of our people to their deaths. I swore I would not stop until the Dominion was destroyed. She paused. But Captain Daewon once told me something. He said that any fool can destroy. It takes wisdom to know when to stop destroying. To know when enough is enough, Sujin turned to Kyung-ho. These terms are acceptable. But I want one addition. The officers who ordered the attack on New Busan. The ones who killed the children. I want them tried on Earth. I want the families of the victims to see justice done. Agreed, Venshara said immediately. They will be handed over to your custody. Kyung-ho made his decision. We accept your surrender. But understand this. If the Dominion ever breaks these terms, if you ever threaten any species again, Operation Gehenna will launch. We will keep that weapon ready forever. Do you understand? Yes, Venshara replied. We understand. And we accept. The treaty was signed. The war was over. The Dominion Grand Armada would withdraw. The conquered territories would be freed. Justice would be served. The Galactic Council watched in amazement. Humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated the Dominion and forced them to surrender. 50 years had passed since the day the Dominion surrendered. The galaxy was a different place now. President Kyung-ho was long retired, living quietly in a small house near New Busan's rebuilt memorial. He was an old man now, his hair white, his hands shaking slightly, but people still remembered him as the leader who won the war and chose mercy over genocide. Admiral Su-jin had served another 20 years in the military before retiring. She died 5 years ago, honored as humanity's greatest war hero. Her funeral was attended by representatives from 60 species, including Venshara. The Dominion had kept its promises. They withdrew from conquered territories. They paid reparations. They reduced their military. The officers responsible for New Busan stood trial on Earth and were convicted. Some were executed. Others spent life in prison. Justice was served. Venshara became the first elected leader of the new Dominion Republic. She spent her remaining years trying to reform her people, teaching them a different way. She died 10 years ago, still apologizing for the crimes of her civilization. The galaxy had learned to fear and respect humanity in equal measure. Earth became the unofficial peacekeeper of known space. When conflicts arose, other species called for human mediation, not because they loved humans, but because they knew humanity would enforce peace. The Ghost Fleet was rebuilt and expanded. It patrolled the major trade routes, preventing piracy and stopping wars before they started. The message was clear: attack the weak, face humanity's wrath. But humanity never forgot the price of war. On the 75th anniversary of the New Busan attack, the memorial held a special ceremony. Yoon Seo was there, now 94 years old. She stood before her son's hologram with help from her granddaughter. A young reporter, barely 20 years old, approached her. The reporter had been born long after the war ended. To her generation, the Dominion War was ancient history, something from textbooks. Mrs. Yoon Seo, the young reporter asked, "What do you want people to remember about your son?" Yoon Seo looked at Jiho's smiling face. 75 years, and the hologram was still the same. Still 7 years old, still holding that blue flower. "Still innocent. I want them to remember his smile," Yoon Seo said, her voice weak but clear. "I want them to remember what was taken from us. I want them to remember who took it." She paused, gathering strength. "But most importantly, I want them to remember what we did not do. We had the power to destroy our enemies completely. Operation Gehenna could have killed every Vrax in the galaxy, but we chose mercy instead." "Why?" the reporter asked. "Because Jiho would not want us to become monsters in his name," Yoon Seo replied. "My son was kind. He loved flowers and animals. He smiled at strangers. He believed the world was good. The Dominion took him from me, but I refused to let them take his memory. If we had killed 14 billion innocent Vrax, we would have proven the Dominion was right. That the strong should destroy the weak. That mercy is weakness." She touched the hologram gently. "Instead, we proved them wrong. We showed that you can be strong and merciful. You can be feared and respected. You can win a war and keep your soul." The reporter finished her interview and left. Yoon Seo stood alone with her son's image. "I will see you soon, Jiho," she whispered. "Your mother is very tired now. But I am proud of what we did. I hope you are too." Across the galaxy, in the rebuilt Dominion capital, a museum stood dedicated to the war. It was called the Museum of Remembrance. Both Dominion and human artifacts filled its halls. Battle recordings, personal stories, names of the dead from both sides. A section of the museum was dedicated to New Busan. Jiho's story was told in detail, along with the other 37 children. Vrax students came here on school trips. They learned what their ancestors had done. They learned about the horror their civilization had caused. One young Vrax, barely 15 years old, stood before Jiho's display. He read about the boy who loved flowers, the boy who smiled, the boy whose death changed the galaxy. The young Vrax's teacher stood beside him. "This is why we must never forget," the teacher said. "This is why we teach you this history, even though it shames us." The old Dominion thought mercy was weakness. They thought they were superior, and it nearly destroyed us. "But humans showed mercy," the student said, "even after we killed their children. Why?" "Because they understood something we did not," the teacher replied. "They understood that becoming monsters to defeat monsters means the monsters win. They chose to be better, and that choice saved both our species." The student looked at Jiho's smiling face. I wish I could tell him I am sorry. Then live a life that honors his memory, the teacher said. Be kind, be just. Never let our people fall back into the darkness. That is how you apologize to the dead. On Earth, in a secure military facility, Operation Gehenna still existed. The plague ships remained ready, sealed in underground bunkers. They could still be launched if necessary. They could still exterminate the Vrak species. Dr. Bora had died 20 years ago, but before she passed, she recorded a message. It was to be shown to each new generation of scientists who maintained the weapon. A young scientist named Min Ho watched the recording on his first day working at the facility. Dr. Bora's face appeared, aged but still sharp. If you are watching this, it means you have been assigned to maintain Operation Gehenna, Dr. Bora said. You are now responsible for the most terrible weapon humanity has ever created. I built this weapon. I regret it every day of my life, she paused in the recording. We kept this weapon as a deterrent, to ensure no species ever threatens us again. But I want you to understand what this weapon means. If it is ever launched, you will kill billions of innocent people. Children who never hurt anyone. Parents who just want to protect their families. Teachers, artists, farmers, all dead because of a decision made by their government. I hope this weapon is never used, Dr. Bora continued. I hope humanity never faces a choice where we must use it. But if that day comes, I want you to remember, every death will be on your conscience. Every life ended will haunt you. I built this weapon to save humanity, but it cost me my peace. Do not make my mistake lightly. The recording ended. Minho sat in silence, understanding the weight of his new responsibility. In space, a new generation of the Ghost Fleet patrolled the trade routes. Commander Jae-sung led one of the patrol squadrons. He was 35 years old, born after the war ended. He had studied the battles at the academy. He knew the stories of Admiral Soo-jin and Captain Dae-won. His ship encountered a small conflict. Two minor species arguing over a mining asteroid. It would have escalated to violence if left alone. Jae-sung's ship appeared between them. This is Commander Jae-sung of the United Earth Fleet. You will cease hostilities immediately and enter mediation. Refusal will result in intervention. Both sides agreed. They knew humanity's reputation. They knew that humans enforced peace not through destruction, but through the credible threat of overwhelming force. The conflict was resolved in 2 days through negotiation. No shots fired, no lives lost. This was humanity's new role. Not conquerors, not victims, protectors, peacekeepers, the species you did not want to fight. Ambassador Taimin's grandson, also named Taimin, now served as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. He was young for the position, only 40, but brilliant and respected. During a council session, a new species requested membership. They were a militaristic culture, similar to the old Dominion. Some council members wanted to reject them outright. Taemin stood to speak. 75 years ago, humanity was tested. We were pushed to the edge of extinction. We built weapons of genocide. We came very close to using them. But we chose a different path. He looked around the chamber. This new species reminds us of our old enemy. But we cannot judge them for what they might become. We can only judge them for what they choose to be. The Dominion changed. They proved that even conquerors can learn mercy. Let us give this species the same chance, the council voted. The new species was admitted, with humanity assigned to monitor them. After the session, an older alien approached Taimin. Your grandfather would be proud. You have his wisdom. I have his memories, Taimin replied. He told me stories about the war, about the hard choices, about standing before the Dominion Grand Armada and not knowing if he would see another day. Those stories taught me that strength without wisdom is just violence, and wisdom without strength cannot protect anyone. On New Busan, the rebuilt colony was thriving. 2 million people now lived there. The memorial to the original settlers stood in the capital city. Every year on the anniversary, all work stopped. Everyone stood in silence for 38 minutes, 1 minute for each child who died. A young girl, only 7 years old, the same age Jiho was when he died, asked her mother why they did this. Why they remembered. Because, her mother explained, those children died so we could learn an important lesson. They died so humanity would understand the true cost of peace. We were innocent once. We thought the galaxy was safe. Those children paid the price for our innocence. But we won the war, the girl said. Yes, we won. But winning is not enough. We have to remember why we fought. We fought to protect children like you. We fought to make sure no one ever hurts the innocent again. And we stopped fighting when justice was served. That is the lesson.